Theater. That's it. That's from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. in Dorchester tomorrow. But while I have you on the phone, want to talk about some of the most recent issues, the continued epidemic of police brutality. What are your thoughts on the most recent issue? And as a matter of fact, this morning, from what I hear, the officer was booked for manslaughter. Released on bond, and we've been there before as well. So now we got to go through the whole process of seeing what happens, but also knowing what has happened in the past. What is your thoughts on that?
Without question, the charge is one thing, okay, but then you need a conviction. And even if you get a conviction, the sentence is something else. And we, as the African-American community, we have a terrible history of celebrating before we've actually achieved what was necessary. We should not be celebrating the fact that the officer was charged, because that can merely be a celebratory measure being taken by the power structure to ultimately let her go free. It's no different than when George Zimmerman was charged. But of course, he was not convicted and definitely not sentenced. And when I look at going back to the Trayvon Martin situation, and I was actually in Sanford when that verdict was handed out. When George Zimmerman was acquitted, right after that I did a radio interview where I said that I expected more black people to be murdered, and not just by plainclothes civilians, but by police. Why? Because from a behavioral science standpoint, speaking as a psychologist, anytime a behavior is not punished, it is automatically rewarded. And because of that, it's more likely to repeat itself. So I'm not surprised that we've seen the Alton Sterling, the Philando Castile, the recent shooting of the brother in Charlotte, as well as the situation in Tulsa. And unfortunately, I hate to say this, there's going to be even more, because they're not being punished. So when a policeman pulls out a gun on an African American, they do not have to consider consequences, because they rarely have any.
Yeah, and that's a major problem, and it's the exact reason why Colin Kaepernick takes a knee, and other players in the NFL has followed as well.
And I support him. I support Colin and the other athletes who have taken a stand. We haven't seen modern-day African-American athletes take a stand. They have been absent from political struggle. They have been absent from having a political voice. And so I applaud him. He's going to suffer for that. His career might be short. He's going to lose millions of dollars. But as a black man, I am so proud of that brother for willing to risk all that he has in order to make a statement about us.
Okay. So now, I want to ask you, what is it that we can do to try and curb or get rid of what's going on? Now, Isaiah Washington has suggested that we all stay home on the 26th of this month in protest of all the police brutality.
Okay, here's the issue with the economic protest. A couple points. Number one, a one-day protest will not work. In order for anything to be effective, it has to be serious, it has to be well organized, and it has to be protracted. That's the problem with black people. We are not good for protracted struggle. The last protracted struggle we had was Dr. King and the Civil Rights Movement. The previous to that was the protracted movement of abolition to end slavery. We are not good for protracted struggle because we have no commitment to ourselves. The average African American is a selfish Negro who is only concerned about their best interests and their children. When it comes to the collective progress of the community, most of us will turn a deaf ear. On top of that, you have to also provide economic alternatives to African Americans if you don't want them to shop. So consider the fact that most of our children are being raised by single parent African American mothers who are working poor. So if I'm a single parent African American mother or father or grandparent and I only shop at the Walmart, you're telling me to boycott the Walmart. Okay, I'm for the struggle. But what is your alternative? I don't have a car. I can't afford to take public transportation around. I have 4 children, can't afford a babysitter. So we have to make sure we have plan Bs and plan Cs. We are very horrible on coming up with alternatives. Where can we shop if we don't go to the Walmart? Are the black businesses organized to bring their services to us, or do we have to go around scouting them out? Because if we have to go around scouting them out, this is not going to work, because it's going to be carried out by single-parent black mothers who don't have the time or the resources to make that happen.
Totally agree. Like you said, it has to be organized. And my biggest beef on it has always been we're not united. We just haven't been, and not to sound like
we're cursed with petty differences.
Yeah.
We are, Marcus Garvey said, we are cursed with petty differences. We would rather fight over religion, skin color, who has the best house, who has the most degrees. We do not pay attention to the things that matter. And because of that, America knows it doesn't have to take Black America serious, because before we ever get into a serious struggle with the power structure, we're going to fight each other a million times first.
That is absolutely true. Now, violence in our neighborhoods, most recently, just a few days ago, one of our very own that work here at the radio station, his son was shot in the back and is, I'm not sure if he's fully paralyzed or partially paralyzed, but I mean, even before that, it's a problem not just here in Boston, but throughout the country and in inner city. You know, we're killing each other.
First off, Black people do not produce guns, nor do we bring them into the cities. If we want to stop gun violence, all we have to do is get the United States government and the National Rifle Association to stop turning a blind ear to undercover illegal gun operators in our community. You talk to any drug dealer, they will tell you that they get the guns from white folks. That's right. They buy their guns in bulk from white arms dealers. Everyone knows that. Small arms is one of the biggest issues in the world. You got small arms coming from China, small arms coming from Russia. You got small arms made right here in America, and the government allows, just like with drugs and guns are both taking place and being sold in our community under the approval of the U.S. government. So if you want to stop it, the government can stop drugs, the government can stop guns. They're not going to stop it, because as long as Black people are willing to participate in their own extermination, why should the government stop it?
So what do we do within ourselves? I mean, okay.
Well, here's the thing. The mother of all crime is miseducation. The father of all crime is economic castration. Black men aren't killing Black men just because they love to kill. Black men are killing Black men because it's one of the only forms of manifesting their masculine energy. When a man cannot provide for his family, he becomes angry. When a man cannot provide for himself, he becomes full of rage and resentment. And it only takes a small precipitating incident to bring about that anger and that outburst. That violence that we see is nothing more than externally manifested pain. Black men are hurting. 50% of the Black men in America are unemployed. If you want to stop the violence, where are the jobs? If you want to reduce community conflict, where are the institutional infrastructures that we need? And if you don't want to build them for us, that's okay, because personally, as a Pan-Africanist, I don't need the government to do anything for me except stop blocking my access to wealth. That's the issue. Black people are systematically denied wealth. If we had access to wealth the way the Chinese and the Arabs and the East Indians and the Anglo-Saxons had, we could build our own schools. We could build our own hospitals. We could build our own supermarkets and factories. But don't blame us for being poor and disenfranchised, while at the same time they're cutting off our access to wealth that would allow us to do for us what other ethnic minorities are doing for their communities.
Okay, so now with the mentality on how we spend our money when we do get our money, which for the most part hasn't been a lot of money, you know, there's the mentality, you know, I'm going to go get the Jordans. The new Jordans come out tomorrow. Oh, I got to get that. The Gucci bags. Like you said, the nice houses. We're worried about who has the best house, who has the best car, and things that are the best gold chain. And, you know, that's a mentality.
Well, here's the thing. You cannot divorce the self-hatred and low self-esteem and psychological conditioning in Black folks from the way in which we spend. Black people are unlike any other consumer in America. In fact, there was a report that came out 3 years on the spending habits of African Americans, and it found that African American consumers are so radically different from everyone else because they buy stuff not because they need it, but because they feel it adds value to themselves. We vicariously worship the Mercedes-Benz. We worship the Louis bag. We worship the Gucci belt. We worship the Air Jordans because we don't feel we have self-worth without them. So we vicariously add wealth to ourselves by purchasing these material acquisitions. That's why we value materialism. It's not that Black people like nice things. It's not about liking nice things. It's about making yourself feel like you are somebody, because without these European labels on your body, you think you're nobody.
Okay. And the last question or the comment I want to make is the images and things we see on television, the news. First of all, I don't believe any and everything I hear and read. And to be truthful, I even feel some of the stuff with some of the brutality that's going on at times. I can't even tell you if some of it's real or not, because it happens so often and how it happens and so forth. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on, I mean, there are some folks, they turn on the news and they just believe everything they see, hear, and read.
Well, here's the thing. Propaganda is a $500 million business in this country. The United States government spends almost as much money on propaganda as it spends on military. And there's a relationship between propaganda and war, because propaganda is psychological and informational warfare. If you can subdue your enemy by invading his mind and manipulating the way he thinks about you and your agenda, you have already won the war. You only have to fight people who you have not convinced to buy into your agenda. Wars are only fought when you can't get the other side to believe as you wish. So television is important. CNN, headline news, the newspapers of the world. And by the way, 5 corporations control 95% of all radio stations, television stations, major internet sites, newspapers, and books. So we have to understand there's no such thing as a free press. The free press is nothing more than a mouthpiece of the capitalistic, white racist economic conglomerate that pretty much dictates social, public, and economic policy, not only in this country and around the world. But although consciously you might know that what you see on the news is not true, subconsciously your brain doesn't know that. What did Adolf Hitler say? Adolf Hitler said, if you want to control people, come up with a lie. Make the lie big, keep the lie simple, and repeat it over and over again. Make the lie big, keep the lie simple, and repeat it over and over again, because our unconscious minds are powerless to keep out information that is repetitious, even if it is a lie.
Wow, unbelievable. Well, I want to thank you for coming on this morning. And tomorrow you're going to be at the 2nd Annual Prince of Pan-Africanism at the Strand Theater. That's from 3 p.m.
Doors open up at 1, and I will be joined by our top black economist, Dr. Claude Anderson. It will be a double lecture. He's going to deal with the black print for Black America as it deals with economics and finance, the topics you brought up, and I'm going to deal with the miseducation of black children, as well as the political climate within our community and what we need to do psychologically and financially to change our reality. Doors open up at 1. Children 12 and younger are free. Elders 65 and older are free. They can get tickets at eventbrite.com. Type in Boston, and you will see the 2nd Annual Dr. Umar Johnson Conference. My first time speaking to the community in Boston in about 3 years, so I'm looking forward to coming on back. And Dr. Claude Anderson is also coming, and we will have our books there as well.
Okay, and hopefully on your next visit, man, we can get you in here live inside the studio, man. I want to thank you for joining us once again. Once again, make sure you check him out tomorrow, live at the Strand Theater from 3 to 7 p.m. Dr. Umar Johnson. Thank you, man.
Thank you, my brother. Take care now.
All right, now.